Hi, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. And if you're new, my name is Marisol Valley, and I am a Christian first and foremost, an HR executive, and an entrepreneur, and your go-to for real talk about work and life. So, what's the topic today? The topic will be, why don't I have friends at work? Or why you shouldn't have friends at work. Depends. This is something, and I've seen this a lot in my HR career, and I believe that it comes from both a professional and a spiritual perspective on this. All right. So let's navigate through the boundaries and our roles, because different roles obviously have different boundaries. So for instance, let's get started. The professional side of things in certain roles, especially as we move up in our career, or if you're in HR like I am, their boundaries can naturally be formed. Sometimes these boundaries are needed, and it's necessary to remain fair and objective. As a leader, we often feel we need to create a safe distance, and many times we do, especially when we're trying to navigate through difficult situations, right? We have to remain professional. That doesn't mean that we're cold-hearted. It just means that we're aware of our responsibilities and to maintain trust and balance in the workplace, right? So, speaking as a Christian, I've learned to maintain those boundaries. They are so important, and you can still do it with kindness and understanding and respect for others. I've had to remind myself many times, while I might not be close friends with everyone at work, I can still approach each interaction with compassion. And that is, and you may be thinking, well, that's your job, your human resource. Correct. But it's not just human resources job, it's your job as well. You have colleagues, coworkers, whatever you want to call them. You have to be compassionate. And it can't be that fake kind of compassion either. So what's the second step? Showing grace. Let's show some grace. Another reason why we might be struggling with friendships at work is that we're all just so busy between deadlines and meetings and projects. We just have to complete tasks, right? So how do we continue and work through this? How do we make friends? And the important thing, do we really want to make friends at work? I can honestly say not always. Sometimes we just don't mesh with people. We can be friendly, but we're not friends. There's nothing wrong with that. And yes, shocking, someone in HR said that. My HR community out there can testify. Especially, I can speak for myself and my experience. I've heard so many complaints. People that were friends and now are frenemies. It's ridiculous. How? You trusted someone and now the whole office knows your personal business. Do not trust people at work. Do not speak about deep, dark secrets at work. I'm just being really honest. I've heard stories, and if I didn't hear them with my own ears, I'm telling you, when I write my book, it's going to be a bestseller. It's just so much stories, so much disdain, and so much backstabbing that I've heard in over 30 years. And you know what? I'll be frank. If I was not Christian, I probably would have left the HR community a long time ago. But I have compassion for people, and I understand. And there's just some nasty people, and there are some evil people. Yes, I said it. Try to work with certain people, but there's times that you need to cut those ties, people. Cut loose. Don't let someone poison the atmosphere. I am such a story. I just thought of one example from many that I have. But I had an employee I inherited at one of my companies. And it was about 7 to 8 employees that I had inherited at said company. But I inherited this one individual that felt that she should have had my position, and who was I that she should report into me. Long story short, she sabotaged. She tried to do everything in her power to sabotage, right? So, I mean, I tried to coach her through it, but I just knew that she was just very evil. And in one of our one-on-one conversations, she said to me, she said, I should invite you, because this woman had a second home in Florida. And she said, oh, I should invite you to Florida, to my home. And I knew there was a punchline there somewhere. And then she said, and people go missing in Florida all the time. The gators eat them all the time. So I looked at her and I said, did you just threaten my life? And she said, no. I said, no such thing. Well, it was a toxic environment. My other employees were complaining about her. I complained about her to my boss at the time. But here's the clincher. Here's the problem. That's why I don't like nepotism. I don't like this bringing family in, because it can cause a problem. Here's the thing. She was best friend with my boss's wife. So when I went to my boss to complain about this individual, he's like, oh, you're just misunderstanding her. That's not what she meant. She's a good employee. And I was like, oh my goodness. This is the epitome of a toxic work environment. And I will not stand for it. And I will not stand for it. Long story short, after a year, I gave this woman a year. She did not fire her. She fired herself. But during that year, I'm not going to lie, I did a lot of praying, people. A lot. And I had to pray. And then at the end, I was able to fire her because I proved myself as an employee. The CEO realized my value to the organization, and he agreed that she had to go. I kid you not, as soon as she left, the atmosphere changed immediately. My employees were humming, they were laughing, they were having a good time. And I was like, wow, it is exactly what I've always thought. It is the environment, and we all work, let's be honest, we're making to make an income to provide for our families. But when we're in a toxic work environment, and I know, here's my tangent, guys. I know I went on a tangent. She wasn't my friend, and that was not the point. But the point is that toxic people are a problem at work. And sometimes people try to make friends with toxic people. No, run from them. Run from them. And sometimes you have to run from said organization, right? Because if the organization is not doing anything about toxic employees and they're just brushing it under the rug, shame on them. But then it's time for you to do something. You need to decide, how bad is it? And is it time for me to go? But getting back to the topic at hand, why we shouldn't have friends at work or why they're not our friends. I'm not saying you can't joke and you can't have friendly conversation. We've all had those people that want to know your personal business, want to know, oh, married, how many times were you married? How many kids? What is this? Like some of the questions that I've heard, I'm like, we don't ask that in a work environment. And I'm a very private person. And you might be laughing, right? And here I am doing a YouTube. But if you really knew me, you would know I'm a private person. But I feel that now, and like I said in a previous email, I felt this from God that I needed to share these experiences with you all, because there's one of you, more than one of you out there going through this. You're probably in a toxic work environment. And maybe it was because you made friends with the wrong person and they backstabbed you. Well, I wish you knew me before this, but wake up. They're not your friends. Be very careful. You're messing with your bread and butter. Do you want to lose your job? And I'm not saying that someone's going to fire you over that, but you never know. You trust this person, you say something about your boss in a heat of anger, which you should never do, but you do. And now this person is angry at you and goes to your boss to tell your boss what you said about it. Wow. Now you're in the problem. Now you made enemy with your boss. That's not going to turn out so good, people. It's just not. So what we should do, go to work. Do your job. Remember that who is really paying you is our Heavenly Father. God created us with a purpose. You were made with a purpose. You're not a mistake. like I've said so many other times, the job might not be for you, and that's okay. But if you're disgruntled and you hate the job, don't make other people disgruntled. Just give it a go. Just look for another job. Go somewhere else. And we've all had those people, those fake people that want to be our friends. Oh, we could see right through them. The hypocrisy is ridiculous. And they actually think that they're fooling you. One thing that I thank God for, I have such discernment. And I've had that even as a kid. I remember as a child telling my mother, "Oh, mom, that person is mean. That person is evil. That person," and my mother was always looking at "Oh no, that person," making excuses for them. And I'm like, "Nah, mom, that's not." And that's what has made me a really good HR professional. And I could see a liar from a mile away. And they could be a good liar at it too, but I can just call them out. And you can too. When you get that little feeling inside that something is going awry, this person is being a little too fake, run. They're not your friends. And take my advice. Don't take it. HR community, agree with me, don't agree with me. Guess what? I don't care. The same way that people may not think of my experience. So people normally, and it's just really sad that nowadays that's the attitude. And when I say, don't get me wrong, I don't mean I don't care about people. I love people because Jesus is in me, right? But it doesn't mean that we're anybody's doormat or that we let people fool us. I'm telling you, I'm one of those Christians that don't use that on me. Is that a Christian thing to do? All the Christians say that. We're still people. We're human. And yes, a Christian can say that. Yeah, you saw the face without makeup. 58 and still look good and proud of where I am. So, in conclusion, I want you to continue. If you don't follow me, follow me. Subscribe to my channel. Write down your experience in my comment area. I know for a fact there's a lot of you that have been backstabbed, that are probably going through that as we speak. Maybe need advice. Maybe you're walking through that dark valley right now. I really do like helping people. And, if there's something that I can do to help you, I'll be more than happy to do this. But remember, you were made with a purpose and you're blessed and highly favored. So don't forget, comment below, follow me, let me know what other topics you're interested in, and I will roll something else out. Be blessed. Talk to you next time. Take care, my friends.